Hello, it's Will from Apple One-to-One Training, and a little different video today. I bought a Mac Mini when it was on sale during Black Friday, and what I wanted to do was set up the Mac Mini, kind of show you what I'm doing with the setup and the goal of what I'm trying to do with it. I bought the base model, and as you can see on the screen, the price, it was really cheap. It was better than even the Apple discount that I would get. And what I'm doing today is going to set up the Mac Mini to show you what the setup is going to be like, and I'm using a lot of old school Mac tech to make this happen here, so let's take a look. So we got my Mac right here. I do have my trackpad I already had. I already have my keyboard I already have, but the thing that I already have is right here is a Thunderbolt Display. This is the old school Thunderbolt Display. You can see I have the old school MagSafe 2. I have the Thunderbolt 2 here, and then I have the adapter, and I bought this on eBay. I got it for like $250 like a year or two ago. Plus, I have right here the My Passport Pro, which is a very old Passport that used Thunderbolt 2. It's like two hard drives built into one, but it's a really reliable device on here. And that's how my setup is going to be. I'm using my Mac literally for this reason. And my goal is to move the applications over from my Time Machine backup from my old machine. I'm not going to set up this machine with a full backup because I only have a 256 drive. But one of the things I decided to buy was a Ugreen, and Ugreen it's a full docking station that will take up 2 ports. And what I did is I actually installed a 1 terabyte SSD. On the bottom here is a drive where you can just put in a solid SSD in here. So I put a 1 terabyte, and on here it has a whole bunch of ports here. This is not sponsored by them, by the way. I'm just showing you what I wanted to do. There's a display port option. So there's a whole bunch of options on here if I need to use USB 2, or if eventually when I want to use this to import footage, I have that right here. So that's the setup that I'm going to be using for this machine. All right, now the fun part. They have a little bit of room right here so I can hit the power button. So the one other good thing about having this Ugreen right here is I can go right underneath and hit the power button very easily on the Mac Mini. Very simple. Powers it on. I already have my setup and keyboard here. We have my Time Machine right here, which I'm going to use to restore the content. Now the key is this going to turn on and work properly with my display? That is the key here. I'm using a very old display here with this Mac Mini setup, but we're going to try it out and see. But I did see a little flash on the screen, so we'll see what happens. There it is. Awesome. All right, so I have my screen here, and now I'm going to go through the setup, and we're also going to educate you on how to use Time Machine backups, and I'm only going to be restoring the apps in this case, but we're going to go through the steps. All right, so now we are at the transfer your data screen. So you have a bunch of setups right here that you can set up as new: iPhone, iPad, Windows, and with your Time Machine, which is what I'm going to do right now. And it's basic stuff with written in language, accessibility. Not now, I don't need that. I'm going to hook up my Wi-Fi network. All right, so now I have 2 Time Machine backups showing up. One of them is the actual hard drive that's hooked up right here temporarily. This is going to set up the Mac Mini there. And then I have my server, because I also have a server on my network here. So I'm going to be choosing the 8 terabyte Time Machine backup, and then hit continue, and then it's asking me, well, what do you want to back up from? And then you get to choose the one you want to choose from. Now, something you're going to see when you restore from a backup sometimes is this grayed out. So here's my MacBook Pro, which is the information I need, but it's grayed out. Well, why is that? Because I actually have to update this Mac. If you're going to restore from a Time Machine backup and your other Mac is updated compared to this one, well, it's grayed out. And you know what's a shame is that Apple in the past used to tell you why. They don't. But if you ever see a gray like that, usually it indicates that you're not going to be able to restore from this backup. In fact, if I leave my arrow on it, this is exactly what I was talking about. So because there's a newer release of macOS, I have to upgrade. So because of this, I can't go forward using the Time Machine backup. I'm going to actually have to hit Not Now and move forward without it. So now I'm going to go through the steps of signing into my Apple account, which I'm definitely going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, skip through all of these setups, and then we'll get back to you when I get through this. All right, so I went through the iCloud setup. I'm going to be pretty much setting up all my iCloud things on here. I always want to have access to them. Obviously, with a 256 drive, it's very limited on what's going to be on here. The goal is to move, obviously, the apps. That is the goal here. So my Final Cut's over here, all my main apps that I want to use. So I bought this QNAP server back in the day, and I wanted to set this up so I can go and have access to it. So the idea is to have permanent access to my server that I have sitting here. I got to install Tahoe. This is running Sequoia right now, so I got to do a large upgrade here. So it's going to take some time here. But I just wanted to show you that I did set up my Ugreen, so I initiated the drive, and now it's pretty much just waiting for Tahoe to download and go ahead and install that, and then I can restore from the Time Machine backup. All right, my update has now been completed. I'm going to go forward with Tahoe, blah, 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 blah. They'll just teach you about a whole bunch of new stuff. All right, now I am in Tahoe. Thank you for welcoming me back. All right, now that I'm in Tahoe, what we're going to do is we're going to open an app called Migration Assistant. So I'm going to use Command and Spacebar, which opens up the Spotlight search. I am now going to type in what I'm looking for. So in this case, I'm going to type in Migration Assistant, and it just shot pretty quickly. There it is. Let's go ahead and open it up. And in order to run Migration Assistant, every app that is open has to be closed. So when I hit continue, it's going to ask you number one for your password so you can get in. All right, Migration Assistant is now closing all my applications. It logs me out, and we're going to start going through the Time Machine setup portion now that we can complete from before. So again, going back to what we just saw, if you are going through setting up this Mac and you're unable to from your Time Machine backup, it's likely because you need to update your system. All right, from Mac Time Machine Startup Disk, we're going to hit continue. It's looking for the data, which it finds my Time Machine backup. I will then choose my M1 MacBook Pro. They have a Mac Mini here backup as well, which I don't need. Now I have a choice. So the choice is what do I want to bring over from the old computer? Well, in this case, the only thing that I want is the applications folder, because I right now just need the apps. I don't need anything else really. I might bring over a couple of things like system and network. These are very small files, but there's no way I can bring over my entire portion. There's a 4 terabyte drive in there. So I'm going to bring over my applications. I'm going to skip my data. I'm not going to bring any of that over, but I'm going to bring my other files. I could bring over privacy security settings, that's fine. System and network, these are just all system settings that I have set up. Net printers, things like that, so that way I don't have to reset or reconfigure those back up. And then I'm going to hit continue, and now it's going to start bringing everything over that I chose. So pretty much everything except the data that I put in my own personal account. It's going to bring over apps, network settings, printer settings, all over to this computer. And then once we are done with this, we will see the final completion of this Mac Mini.
6 hours later.
Okay, so the migration process has been completed. I can hit done. And part of the process is that you have to usually log back in and get into it, which is what I'm going to do right now. The best thing to do right now after this is do a restart. It's always, I think, good because I'm getting this Defender thing, and it's really kind of annoying, I'll be honest. It's getting in my way. So I'm going to go through and actually restart my machine. I think it's a good idea to do that anyway. And when I do that, I'm going to show you my final layout of how this whole thing is going to be. All right, and welcome to my final layout of my computer here. If we go to my apps section, all my apps are now here that I wanted to use. The major things that I obviously needed was Final Cut Pro. You notice I have a bunch of Creative Clouds here. You know, there's some weird things that happen from this transfer, which I'm going to have to go through. But the main thing I wanted to get was Final Cut Pro, so that was really the main thing I wanted to do. I didn't want to have to re-download it. So Final Cut Pro is going to be downloaded, but you notice that my dock is the original dock. Again, I didn't bring anything over from my user profile. It was just the apps I wanted to bring over for this machine particularly. But as my setup goes, again, we have my keyboard, we have my trackpad, and we have my final layout with everything disconnected. So everything is now done. And this is going to be my setup going forward for my computer. If I zoom all the way out here, it's a dirty table, folks, but you know, hey, I'm not a professional here. I'm just trying to show you my layout and show you how you can use some old Mac technology here with this screen, still using my Thunderbolt 2 and using some of the new technology with the Mac Mini and the Ugreen. So hopefully this layout works out great. I'm looking forward to using it. Thank you very much for taking a look at this video, trying to use Time Machine, and hopefully you get something really neat out of this setup. I think it's just a unique kind of setup for me, and I'm really happy I got to spend, you know, less than $600 just to make this setup happen. All right, everybody, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day. And I love every single one of you.